truth. Most parents don't teach the alphabet correctly to their child. This isn't the parent's fault. They haven't been trained in this, and they think that if they teach their child the alphabet song or letter names and sounds, that that's the right thing to do. Actually, teaching the alphabet is a lot trickier than most parents realize. And in today's video, I want to give you 5 tips on how to teach the alphabet correctly to your child from the beginning so that they don't end up with reading problems later on. In case you don't know me, my name is Erin. I'm from littleslovelearning.com. I'm a former classroom teacher. I have my master's degree in early childhood education, and now I spend my time educating parents and other teachers about how to teach kids to read correctly based on the science of reading. I'm so glad you tuned in today because that means that you're a parent wanting to teach your child the alphabet and you want to make sure you don't make the mistakes that many parents make. You want to avoid these common mistakes so that when your child is learning how to read, they're not going to get tripped up because they learned the alphabet wrong. You're going to make sure that they have the solid foundation in learning the alphabet so when they move on to reading, they're going to be ready. Before we dive into the tips, I am going to be using my animal alphabet cards to show you the letters when I'm talking about these tips. If you are interested in downloading a copy of these cards for free, I will put a link down below in the description box. You can click on that link and you can get your own copy of these animal alphabet cards so you can use them with your child. The first tip I have for you when teaching your child the alphabet is teaching them the short vowels first. So we know that there are 5 letters that are vowels, A, E, I, O, U. There is also another letter that can act as a vowel, Y, but we're not discussing that in this video because we're talking about introducing the alphabet to our kids. And this is where parents get tripped up. There are so many phonics rules that they might want to teach them all at the same time, but we just need to go step by step. So when we're first introducing the alphabet, we are going to stick with A, E, I, O, and U for the vowels, and we are going to stick with the short vowel sound. We as adults know that vowels can represent a short sound or a long sound. The short sounds represented on these cards, we have A, alligator, E, elephant, I, inchworm, A, octopus, A, umbrella bird. But we know that they would also represent the long sounds when they say their name. A, E, I, O, U. We will get to teaching the long sounds to our children, but when we're first introducing the alphabet, we are sticking with the short sound. So what does that mean? That means avoiding books that have something like I is for ice cream. Well, technically, yes, ice cream starts with I, but it's the long vowel I sound. So we don't want to use that as one of our examples because we are teaching the sounds first, the short vowel sounds, and we want to make sure we choose cards that go along with the short vowel sounds. Another tip about vowels is that if you notice when I was saying those short vowel sounds, my chin was dropping way down. So I'll do them again. We had A, E, I, A. My chin is dropping down. That's how we know it's a vowel sound. When we are teaching our little ones the letter sounds, we want to make sure we are crystal clear with the sound. If it's a vowel sound, our chin can drop down. If it's a consonant sound, we need to make sure that our chin stays up. We don't want to have it drop down. So this means we have to be very careful about how we say those sounds so that our chin doesn't drop down unless it's the vowel sound. Vowel sounds, they're allowed to drop down. Another thing about vowels is that they all are continuous sounds. So we can actually hold them for as long as we have breath. So when you're teaching your child about the vowels, you can say ah and have them hold it for as long as they can before they run out of breath. Continuous sounds are really helpful for kids when they're first learning how to blend sounds together because they can hold the sound in their mouth until they get to the next sound. So that's really important to point out to your little one. You also want them to know that vowel sounds turn their voice box on. So they can put their fingers right here, and when they make the sound, they're going to touch their voice box, ah, and they're going to feel it vibrating. It's turning their voice box on. So all of our vowel sounds are voice sounds. They are continuous sounds. They're turning their voice box on, and we can hold it for as long as we have breath. My second tip for you is about the letter C and the letter G. Now, as adults, we know that C and G can represent two different sounds each. C can represent K and S, K like cat and S like city. G can represent G and J, G like gorilla and J like giraffe. But when we are first introducing the alphabet to our little ones, we are sticking with the hard sound, the first sound that I said, K and G. And we want to make sure that we are choosing appropriate keywords when we are teaching our little ones these letters. So we're not going to choose a keyword for C, such as city or scent, and we're not going to choose a keyword for G, such as giraffe or giant. We want to make sure that we are choosing a keyword that goes with the hard sound, K and G. Now, are they going to learn the other sound, which we call the soft sound, the S and J? Of course they are. They're probably going to learn that either maybe the end of kindergarten, definitely in first grade, but it's not something that they need to know when they're first learning their letters and sounds. We need to keep it simple. We are going to build in complexity, but for right now, we're going to keep it simple. There is actually a reason that we would use a C to represent K or a C to represent S, depending on which letter comes after the C. So we're going to teach that to our kids in first grade. Same with G. It depends on which letter comes after the G if it's going to make the G or J sound. We are going to get there. We are going to teach them that. It's a really great pattern for them to learn, but we're not going to teach them when we're first introducing the alphabet. The third tip I have for you is about the letter X. Now, X is a really interesting letter. It is the only letter in the alphabet that is actually representing two sounds at the same time. So the two sounds are K and S. Together, they represent X. That's why X is so special. It's actually two phonemes together making this sound X. Now, the thing about X, when it's at the beginning of a word, it's going to represent a different sound, like in xylophone. Xylophone has an X at the beginning, but the sound is Z. We don't want to choose that for a keyword for the letter X. We want to make sure we're actually choosing a keyword that ends with the letter X, like fox or box or six. You want to choose X and then a keyword that ends with an X so that it makes that clear X sound so that you can teach your child that sound. Are they going to learn that X can represent Z at the beginning of a word like xylophone? Of course they are. They're absolutely going to learn that most likely in first grade. When you're first introducing the alphabet, you don't need to teach that to them yet. Stick with X at the end of a word. The fourth tip I have for you today is about the letter Q. Now, Q is a really interesting letter because it is almost always followed by the letter U. We like to say that these are married sounds. But what happens is when Q is followed by U, U is no longer acting like a vowel. So on my cards, I have my consonants black and my vowels red. Well, this wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't be correct because U is not acting like a vowel when it comes after Q. So you want to make sure that you have a card that shows Q, U together because Q, U together, that's actually what makes the sound like quail. If you just had the Q, it would actually represent a K sound. Isn't that interesting? But in English, we have Q almost always followed by U, so that's why together, we need them together to represent like quail and queen and quick. They need to be together. So my advice to you is when you are teaching the letter Q, you're actually going to teach it to your little one with the U right after it. Q, U, quail, Q. You want to make sure that the Q and the U are together and they're not separate. Otherwise, it's confusing because U is a vowel. So we want to make sure that they are married and they're together. The fifth tip I have for you when teaching your little one the alphabet and the sounds is to be so crystal clear when you're pronouncing the sounds. I mentioned this earlier when I was talking about the vowels, but vowels are going to make our chin drop down. The other consonants are not going to make our chin drop down. We need to make sure our chin stays up. It's very common, especially on alphabet songs, to hear people say things like B and P. But look at how much my chin drops down. I need it to be B and P. I need my chin not to drop down. I need to get rid of any vowel sounds that I'm saying after the consonant sound. We like to say we get imaginary scissors out and cut off that vowel sound. We want to keep our chin up and just say the consonant sound. Now that's especially important for all of the consonants, but there are a few really tricky ones that I wanted to call out especially because I struggle with these too. And so if I'm struggling with them, I want to make sure that I call them out for you so that you can work on them as well. So the sounds for these letters, we want to be really, really clear with our kids. So the first one is letter R. A lot of people will say but that's not actually correct. ER represents but this is a rabbit, not an rabbit. So we have to be really careful when we are doing the sound for R, it's more like rabbit. I'm not adding the I'm not saying and I'm not saying because it's not an rabbit. So I'm saying rabbit, but I'm not saying the rest of the word. Rabbit. So be really clear when you're teaching this sound because this one is the one most kids struggle with. Another one that is tricky that I am working on is W. W for walrus. A lot of people, and myself included, sometimes will say wah, but if you notice, wah, my chin is going down. So we do really careful that it's walrus, watermelon. I'm not dropping my chin down and I'm just making it a super clear sound. Then we have Y. Y for yak. And again, it's very easy to say yeah and then have my chin drop down. I need to make sure my chin stays up. Yak, yellow, yell. I don't want my chin to drop down when I'm making that y sound for Y. And the last one, QU. I already mentioned this one earlier in this video, but this one is also tricky for me. I'm working on it because Q and U together, they don't represent qua. I don't want my chin to drop down, qua. It's more like quail, queen, quick. I don't want my chin to drop down. So I'm saying it very carefully so I'm not adding that sound to the end. There you go. Those are 5 tips that you need to know before you teach your child the alphabet, all of the letters and sounds. And I will leave you with one more piece of advice. You do not have to teach all of the letters and sounds before you teach your child to read. The reason is once they know a vowel and a consonant sound, if they can orally blend those together, you can start teaching them how to read by blending the sounds that they're reading. So for example, if they know the letter A represents a and the letter T represents t, if they can orally blend at together, then you can show them the letters A and T on a piece of paper and work with them to blend those. At. You don't have to know all 26 letters of the alphabet and all of the sounds before reading the word at. You just need to know a and t. So please don't get all the way to the end of the alphabet before you start working on blending. You can work on it as your child is learning the letters and sounds. Just a reminder, if you like the animal alphabet cards that I have, you can click on the link down below to get your very own copy for free. This set actually includes a card with the animal picture very big. It also includes cards with the animal picture small up in the corner, and it includes cards with no animal picture if your child is ready to move on from having a keyword picture. It also includes an animal alphabet chart, so all of the letters and sounds on one piece of paper, and includes digraphs, which is when we have 2 letters representing one sound. So all of that goodness is in that free download. So again, click on the link below and you can get your own copy. If you have any questions about anything I shared here today, please find me on my website, littleslovelearning.com. You can also comment down below and I will be sure to get back to you. I want to make sure that I'm as helpful as possible on your journey teaching your child to read. Until the next video, I hope you have a great day. Bye.